Diys-by-dar, beach please. This is the challenge hosted by Jen from Copper Cactus DIYs. And I found this shelf in the dumpster when we were cleaning out my in-laws' house for sale. And I thought, well, I'm going to use this piece. So after getting it cleaned up, I wanted to put a back on it. So I found a piece of plywood that would work, gave that a couple cuts to make sure that would fit on the back. And then I went ahead and sanded this piece. It was already starting to have some crazing on it. So I wanted to make some molds. I used my Let's resin, quick cure, 10-minute casting resin, 50/50. Mark your cups, A and B, so you don't mix them up. And that helps a lot because you can reuse these cups. Just wipe them out with a paper towel. And I don't weigh it. I just eyeball the measurements, and I've always done really well with that. Put both parts in a silicone cup, stir 10 seconds, 20 seconds, and I'm going to get this poured. Some of these are a little bit deep, and if you over pour, you have to clean that off, or if you over pour and it domes, then you're going to have to sand that bottom off because you want that to fit snug. So after I poured these, I had to wait for 10 to 15 minutes. They're ready to come out, and I popped them out, and the majority of them came out good. I had a couple that were a little high, so what you do is just take some sandpaper and just rub the bottom until it's a bit flatter for you. Now here is my crab, which is a little bit of a deeper pour. You have to be a little bit careful when you're taking it out. And this one was still a little bit soft. So that's okay. Once I got it out, I just made sure that it was lined up and it was flat on the bottom and let it finish the cure process. Tight bond, quick and thick, multi-surface glue. I usually like that. Once you get your things in place, clean that excess glue from around the outside edge just with the paintbrush. Now I have my paper. I am a Made by Marley brand ambassador for their Decoupage company. You can find them at www.madebymarley.co.uk, them and their stockists. And this is the 2 sheets that I'm going to use. And I needed to cut this one. I wanted to run that vertically, and I had to cut it. I am going to use some Mod Podge in matte, a soft brush, and then a tool that I put some wax paper around just to help so it flows a little bit better over the paper. I'm getting my paste on, and you always want to make sure your last move is lightly smoothing it so there's no ridges or anything in the paste. I'm lining up my paper carefully because I want this to run straight up to the top, and I will slowly tap it down and unroll it until I get up to the top. And then I have an extra piece I need to put underneath there to finish that fish coming up off the very top. So I did cut that. You need to cut if you're going to match something up. And here I am with my tool. I'm just getting the air out, and also any excess paste I am moving to the edges. So slowly moving that and getting that down. Whatever excess paste comes out, I use around the edge to get the edge to go down. Now the other sheet I am using on the back. And yep, there's the ruler. I do want to make sure that I get this in the middle. Now here is mistake number 1. This was raw wood, and I thought I could put that decoupage paper on that raw wood. Did not work out so well. I needed to make a break, so I just folded that over the top where I wanted it to start and gave that a little cut. And I used that piece actually at the bottom. Now I am putting a lot of paste on here, knowing this was open raw wood thinking this would work. Well, it did not, and I learned my lesson, and I will not be doing that again. I should have primed that whole piece of wood. I'm going to line that paper up since I did measure and I know where it needs to hit. And I'm going to get that down, and I'm going to get that tool, and you are going to see what an over paster I am, because there is all that excess paste coming out the edge, and that is what will leave ridges in your paper once it dries. The excess I just used and stuck down the outside edge. It looked fabulous, but when it dried, not so much. The paste just sucked right into the wood. My first stencil, I taped it off. I just wanted some of them light swirls to match the back of the paper. Just very subtle. I'm starting to layer my stencils. The next one looked much like the stencil area that was on the paper, and I just darkened my paint a little bit more, and that was going to be my next layer of stencils. So I really need to get back in with some blue, and in the end I did go with a little bit of pink as well. There was my blue, and I did have to add some pink to try to break up that solid line coming down the side. It was supposed to go on the back somewhat like this so you could still see the flamingos. Now I need to match this paper, and I based this in with the color close to what the backing of the paper was, and then little by little I'm just trying to pull some of the brighter colors out, maybe even going in over that paper a bit. I'm trying to get that line to disappear from the paper, and I will add a little bit more brown in there and just basically blend that together with tapping and dotting it, and it came out pretty good. I was all right with it. It worked out nice. I probably did spend about an hour on each side to get that to blend in. Mistake number 2. When I sanded, there were some open areas of wood, and I'm trying to blend. I'm the worst blender in the world. I had to go back with some bonding boss because those wood spots were showing up through my paint. And I had no choice. I had to spot prime it and then try to continue to blend. I have 2 wet edges, and this was difficult to blend inside this area because I really could only get that brush to go one way for blending, and that was front to back, back to front, and that was all I could get. You could see the bottom. I did much better. I had more space where I could work the paint better. I'm not wetting it. I'm just using the paint wet as it is and a light hand, and that's my blending skills. On the top, I was able to blend a bit better. I'm getting my 2 wet edges with some Dixie Belle paint, cotton, and the other one was a mishmash of Dixie Belle and Annie Sloan paints. I wouldn't even begin to tell you what the colors were because I was just trying to get the color close. So with that dry brush, lightly brushing over and trying to get these 2 colors to mesh in. I am not the best blender. This was part of my exercise to work myself with blending a bit more. It came out all right. I'm pleased with it. It's not bad. I'll take it. It's time to paint my shells. Now I sprayed with some matte clear first. Then I'm going to use some Posca pens. I have found that my paint will always lift no matter what I do, so I just give it a quick spritz with a matte sealer, and I have different colored iridescents, plain colors, and you can mark it with the Posca put a little bit of water on your brush and just work that paint around. You don't really need to go completely to the edge. And I finished up with some silver and some gold on the top to give them a little bit of a shine. Now this is a stencil from the Screen Shop. They're a screen vinyl stencil. I did get this from Amazon. I've had it for probably 3-4 years, and I do like the effect that they give. They stick very well. Just make sure that you have it stuck down in place with your hand. And I am going to use the same type of color I used with the stenciling. And you have to push maybe a little bit harder. And you want your paint to be thick. Make sure you offload your brush. And I like the swirly twirly method. And I am working that paint through that mesh screen, and it does give you a little bit more of a refined look, which you can see right there. And I overall like that look. I'm going to get my octopus on there. Of course, I'm going to make him black and swirly twirly once again. And there we have our octopus. He's looking mighty fine. I'm ready to seal, and I have Annie Sloan's chalk paint lacquer. And 2 coats, everything received 2 coats. Try to go both directions. You can see the pink I added in there now on there. And I wanted to make sure I got around all my critters. I tried to find if this lacquer was waterproof, but I could not find that anywhere. Now I have some Tite Bond, and that little bar, I didn't want to try to staple that because I'm sure I'd ruin it. So I put some Tite Bond all the way around, and I'm going to carefully put my back in place where it needs to be, and I'm using my heavy duty staple gun, and I will get this back stapled on and paint the other portion with the primer so it's all one color. There was this piece that I rescued from the dumpster, and here it is now. So much fun with this piece, and make sure you go ahead and check out the playlist for all the other talented artists for the Beach Please competition hosted by Jen from Copper Cactus DIY. And if you like what you see here, like and subscribe. It's free. I can really use your support for my channel, and I will catch you on the next one.